All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District for December 18th, 2024. May I have a roll call?
Director Meggs? Here. Director Kelly?
Here.
Director Stella? Here. Director Gaffney?
Here.
Director Borstein?
Here.
Thank you. All right, will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now I'd like to adjourn to closed session. All right, I'd like to reconvene us to open session. We have nothing to report from our closed session. I'd like to ask for a motion on the agenda unless somebody has something they want to move on the agenda.
I would move the agenda.
Oh, wait, maybe we could move the consent calendar.
It's right away.
About the finance things. Do we want to move him up?
I don't think he's back on yet, so I would say no.
So we've got a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Public comment? Do we have any public who wishes to make any comment online or in person? Seeing none. Item number 8, committees and representative report out. The Finance Committee.
The finance
Tom.
committee met yesterday, Mary and I, and we went over a lot of the trifecta, 3 awards that we've received for financial reporting, all excellent documents. And then we reviewed other items that were on the agenda. We reviewed other items on the agenda, including like Michael, the Colantuno firm, and whatever I can't remember the name of it. Oh, but it was on the consent calendar. The smart cover and the SSMP.
CMMS.
Yeah.
Oh,
Things. Anyway, we
Yeah.
went over in more detail all these things.
thank you. CMSA?
Yeah.
Doug, you want to report out on that?
Sure. On the consent calendar, we have a new, well, I don't know if it's done yet, but we've always wanted an assistant general manager there, like we have an assistant general manager here. There were people retiring and it was kind of not a good time, as people are going out the door, it wasn't really a good idea to promote somebody at that time. So it's everything settled down. So Pete Christian Mocker will be the new assistant general manager. He'll be attending the board meetings, and in the event that Jason is out of town and unavailable, he'll take duties as the acting general manager.
Is he the IT guy or
No.
what is he?
There was a technical services manager position as
Technical
well. but-
services, okay.
Yeah, he's an engineer.
We had our annual comprehensive and popular financial reports. We did talk about having the legal counsel attend board meetings. Specifically, I think the bottom line was, if there's anything, I don't think it's always, although that's maybe what we preferred, but I think we said at the request of a board member or the general manager, president of the board. But what did we finally decide on that?
I believe it's remotely
Everywhere,
for
yeah,
the
that's
whole
what we-
meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what-
And what was the vote on that? What,
That was 4-1.
4-1?
I mean, 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah, Dean voted in
You
favor of
voted
it.
in favor?
Dean-
Thank you.
Dean
He said,
was
I
not
will
in favor
vote
of it.
in the interest of harmony. I will
Right,
vote
he was
with
not in favor,
everybody else.
but he didn't
Yeah.
vote against it.
Yeah, I thought he was going to abstain because he paused and he started to talk a little bit. Okay.
That's fine. We announced the project completion of the outfall solids removal services. In other words, we sent people in scuba gear 1.5 miles out into the bay to clean out our pipes. And that's done once every 10 years.
God, what a job.
And it was done. So that's finished. We did authorize a bid to put out a bid. We haven't accepted a bid for the parking lot rehabilitation. The parking lot hasn't been redone in many years. It has some cracks and crimps and problems. And so we did vote for that. We also, at the end on the informational items, SEIU requested 9 questions be answered by CMSA. And they answered almost all of them saying, we either don't have it or you already have it. It's public record. So basically, there really wasn't any answers. What's your attrition rate? And they asked both union and non-union. And basically, the answer is non-union is none of your business, and union you already have. So a lot of the answers were no. Under public records requests, we either don't have them or you already have them. So that was basically the answer to that. So that's about it. It was not a long meeting.
Which I think, I mean, relates a little bit to the issue of having council sitting in all the meetings, because perhaps if council had been in the meetings where we were discussing those items, council would have weighed in on how we should respond.
I agree.
Might have been
Yep,
a
I agree
different
with you.
response.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. North Bay Watershed Association. Pam.
Yes, we met on December 6th at the Point Blue Conservation Science Center in Petaluma. I didn't realize they actually have 3 centers. It's a $10 million agency. And they were founded as informally named the Point Reyes Bird Observatory, but now it's called the Point Blue Conservation Science Center. So that was fabulous. We lost Leon Garcia. He's not on our board anymore. I don't know why.
Who?
And Leon Garcia is an engineer from, what do you call it, up near Napa. And then is it Ryan Gregory or
American.
Gregory Ryan? I always get his name back. He's not going to be there anymore either.
American Canyon. is
American
where,
Canyon.
where Leon
Yeah,
Garcia is
I need a
from.
new brain.
He is great. But yeah, I think he's retiring
Oh, okay.
from his position at City
Yeah.
American Canyon.
Yeah.
I think that's why he's no longer able to serve.
So we had a guest speaker, and it was on climate in the North Bay region, indications of changes for the coming decades. And it was Dr. Dan Kayan, research meteorologist. He works with Scripps Institution of the Oceanography, University of California, San Diego. Basically, he just talked about the climate change warming is much faster than they anticipated. Last year, the ocean warmed by 2 degrees, the warmest year ever recorded in history. And I'm not going to go into all the issues around climate change. As we know, sea level rise in the Bay Area. I've been hearing more on NPR about they're starting to finally look at all the cities and all the little towns and what have you. Everybody's going to have to put in. It's just, there's no other way. And he also talked about how California is going to have to step up to create some kind of master plan. And there's a lot of uncertainties, and people are starting to get more nervous because there's nothing really, I mean, there's some studies done, but not to take care of the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, just one thing that he also mentioned that really struck me was that grapevines die if they get over 115 degrees outside. And last year, for the first time, Santa Rosa actually reached 115 degrees for one day. And that's the first time. And so we're talking about it, and that it's likely that grapevines are going to start dying in the future. So I sent you the presentation if you want to.
Thank you. Item number 8, verbal report by general manager.
Thank you, President Silla and board members. I've got 3 things to report on for this December meeting, but I would like to recognize that we're celebrating an anniversary of sorts of moving in here at 1111 Anderson 1 year ago. And so I think it's going really well from staff standpoint. We hope the board is satisfied with the new facility. And it's our 13th regular board meeting held here at this facility. So of those 3 items, first, I wanted to let you know that tomorrow we're on schedule to issue a notice inviting bids for the 24-25 gravity sewer improvements project. So tomorrow it's going out to bid, and we're planning to open bids around January 30th. So it's not right after holidays, but sometime into the new year before we would open competitive bids. It's a large project. It's engineers' estimates, 8.3 million. Our internal estimate's a little lower. We think it might be more like a $7.5 million job, but we're going to let the market tell us, what they think it's going to be cost, and work out the budgetary items as that information comes in. The location of this project is in various places in the district, but it's focused on the infrastructure asset management plan, highest risk scores, which are based on likelihood of failure or consequence of failure. And just for trivia, the highest risk sewer in our whole district is located on Sherman Avenue, Bolinas Road in Fairfax, for various reasons, but it's close to where the Fairfax Creek goes underneath in a culvert underneath by Town Hall. And so that's on this project list, and it's good timing because it will get that in before MMWD does a major project down Bolinas Road. So we're coordinating with the town. There's also sewers around the Fairfax San Anselmo border along Sir Francis Drake and north of there. And then there's a cluster of sewers down in the flats in Kentfield at Barron's and McAllister, but also the fly line of Stadium Way to bypass laterals around the trunk sewer, and then Wolf Grade and Wolf Canyon. There's a system there that has a lot of defects and risks. So we're continuing along that way too. So we're excited to get that work attended to and address not only high risk sewers, but maintenance headaches for our staff, working in easements, taking a lot of time to do specific line cleaning by putting in new pipe. The line cleaning frequency goes to more like once per 3 years, which is really frees up staff time to meet our targets. All right. Second item. So that's going out to bid tomorrow. The second item, pleased to announce that we are the winners of the CWA Redwood Empire Section Small Collection System of the Year for 2024.
What?
Yep.
And we've done this now 3 out of 6 years, going back to 2019.
Not the state yet.
Okay, Redwood Empire, got it.
Going back to 2019, 3 out of the last 6 years. We didn't apply last year just because we had won the state. So, but at any rate, we're showing, through our initiatives, continuing to pursue improvement in all our programs, demonstrating that in our application. We were selected to be the Small Collection System of the Year for this part of the state. And the next step is to apply, and we've already completed our applications for the statewide.
Did we highlight anything in particular?
There's really a lot in there.
Good board.
Yeah, right, exactly. Certainly.
That's inferred.
Gosh. Well, you saw, for an example, is our high frequency cleaning line reduction program that we put. If you want to refer to that, it's in our May agenda. It's an information item and a detailed technical memo, and we're featuring that as a way. It's just an initiative where we're using a data-driven approach to target in-house and capital work to free up maintenance staff time, just to cover all our bases. We set targets, but it's hard in a system like ours to meet all those targets on an annual basis. It just is, for us to cover all the different maintenance and preventive things we'd like to do. So by doing this initiative, it's pretty simple math. If you go out every 6 months versus if you go out every year to clean a line, you can imagine how that piles up pretty quickly. And the high frequency cleaning takes, I'd pull a number out of the air. I'd say 20% of our maintenance is on those 6-month lines, which are 400 lines out of 5,600 lines.
Wow.
So it's, if we can really, so that's an example of what, an initiative that's maybe just a little more sophisticated than your average initiative in the collection systems. So anyway, that's just one example. Moving on to the third item, 2960 Kerner Boulevard, our home from 2009 to 2023, was sold on December 10th to an organization called Enriching Lives Through Music. And it was sold for over $3 million. It was money wired to our bank account. The transaction is complete. On December 10th, we handed over the keys and the gate operators, and our facilities manager, Paul Brummer, has completed the handoff process to their facilities manager, providing info on the alarms, on the backyard sump pump, the utilities, the security gates. So 2960 Kerner Boulevard is no longer a district asset, and our commitments have been met. We exceeded our financial goal of $2.75 million by 12%, due to the interest of multiple parties in the property. And I would just say from a staff level, we're very pleased that the property went to a nonprofit entity, ELM, who serves the local economically disadvantaged community by providing school children musical instruments and lessons, but also opportunities to put on public performances that are really quite moving and just have a great impact on them and their families. So it's just a great end of that chapter in the district's history.
That was really good. That was remarkable. And we got paid well for it. And so I commend everybody who worked on that, including this board, on getting more money than we thought.
And Elma had a concert on Sunday afternoon of their Elmio, which is the Enriching Lives Through Music Youth Orchestra, the older ones. And Jane came out and mentioned us in that. So it was very sweet.
Well, that's great. Yeah. And thanks to the board for your patience moving through that process and your guidance and leadership. And yeah, we thank our consultants, our real estate advisors, Joe McCallum and Hayden Ongaro, for their work on that too. And they send their best to you, and their thanks for the partnership. That's it for my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Verbal report by board members and requests for future items. Doug, you have an item?
I have three small things. One, you mentioned recently to me, Steve, the amount of rainfall in the different JPAs. I'd love to see you put that down to paper somewhere, and that'd be interesting. What he mentioned is that Ross Valley gets something like, did you say 10 inches? 10 inches more than the two other members of the JPA.
Okay, among CMSAs.
I'd like to see, yeah, the CMSA. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to commend everybody who was involved in the lobby. If you haven't seen the lobby, take a walk around. It looks really good, and it might even get better, but there's some signs and pictures, and it's really nice. It looks great. The third thing, and I'm going to read this because I want to be careful. I want to limit what I say here. I sent an email to Elizabeth Mooney, who was here recently regarding issues on her property. And I said, Dear Ms. Mooney, at tonight's Ross Valley Sanitary District meeting during director's report out, I'll make a very brief comment. My comment will be that I met you at your home on December 7th for 2 hours, and I visited the Hilltop today with an operations superintendent from the Ross Valley Sanitary District, as well as an engineer from the county of Marin. We also asked and received permission to look at your backyard today from your husband, Robert. I will have a more extensive report out at the next board meeting in January. Thank you.
Great. Are you asking for that to be an agenda item, or is that
Nope.
going to be a board member
No, it's just
report out?
board member report out.
Okay, excellent. All right. Any other board members have? items?
I've mentioned this in the past, and I'd love to think about it again. I think that the pump station in Kentfield would be a lovely place to have an informational board. We would just have to pay for it to be there. And we have our guys who go in there quite often to work on the pump station who could keep it up to date. If you count the number of people that ride by on their bicycles and everything else, I think it'd be a lovely place to have information about what it is that we do. And I think people would actually stop and look at it and read it. And it would be easy for us to keep it up to date because we're there often, all the time. And if it were up to me, I'd get one of those little bicycle maintenance stations that you can buy self-made and put it there, and people could pump up their bikes and do all sorts of other things. And they don't cost much, and I can get you the information about those if you need them. But I think an informational place that we can have information about who we are and what we do, and a map of the system and history and everything.
Mhm.
People are not going to come here to read it, but every day there are hundreds of people which go by on their kids and with everything. So
I think that's a great idea, Michael.
You know, they have a bicycle maintenance station by Blackie's pasture.
yes,
Uh,
yeah, you can buy
noticed
you can buy them self-made. There's one out in Woodacre by what used to be the Two Bird Cafe,
Mhm.
and all you have to do is buy it and stay and poke it in the ground.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, I'm thinking of like a bulletin board, but it could be something that could survive the rains and all. And maybe you have a laminated version of the general manager's report that you ask the folks out who go out there to put up, or I could put it up. It's you know, hundreds of yards from my house.
Yeah. We're there multiple times a week, I
Mhm.
think.
We might look at, I'm involved with some public outreach efforts, kind of a nonprofit. And we're looking at some things, and it seems like the QR code
Mm.
is something that's used a
Mhm.
lot. And, then that way we wouldn't have to do something like the laminated
Right.
report that we'd have to tend to, but we might be able to do something like
But
that.
I mean, I'm thinking of like at the national parks, there'll be a thing that everybody goes and reads, or
Yeah.
So it's maybe something static that we could put up that explains what that
That's a good
station
idea.
is.
At the top of Kent Woodlands, before you go on Crown Road
Mhm.
bike path out there, there's a big thing from the Park Service. It says,
Mhm. Mhm.
here's who we are, here's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, I love the bright thing that's up there now that tells you not to flush things,
I
but
do too.
we could also have something that's informational that stays up all the time. That's a great idea, Michael.
Did Rose Valley pay for the initial bike path with the interceptor line that goes down there? Was there a bike path before, or
Yes, there was a bike path before, but and this is back in the
Yeah, when they put in the
a
force
long
main.
time ago, before I believe it was before I was on the board. I think when I was running, when we ran something under there,
Yeah,
that we repaved
the
it.
force
Because
main.
I remember saying to Randall, "Oh, I run up and down on that," and he said, "Well, don't run on the pavements because we're putting this in so hard that's going to hurt your knees. Run on the dirt next to it." So there was pavement, but not as dense or serious as it is now, and we did pay for it.
yeah, I was wondering if we might mention that there too.
Sure.
That, the initial pavement was paid for by the Rose Valley Sanitary.
Anyway, I really believe people would stop
I
and
think it's a
rest and
great
read it.
idea.
Mhm. That is a great idea, Michael. All right, thank you.
We'll look into that.
Okay. Any other reports or requests? No? Okay. The consent calendar, does anybody have any item they'd like to pull off the consent calendar?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to pull E just briefly, just talk about E.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Which one did you
E.
pull?
E.
But the finance committee, you talked that you were looking at item D in the background and that was ongoing. Maybe just what you said at the finance committee, that's a lot of money. And that you're looking at maybe trying to get Lotus 1, 2, 3. or-
Wait, oh, Mike, okay, Michael, are you effectively pulling D to discuss?
Not to discuss, but just to
Okay.
have the same comment
Okay.
that was made at the finance
Okay.
committee.
Yes. Item E, yes.
So I just want to say, this is really not to me
Which one is it? B?
E.
E.
It's not a really consent item, but it's fine. Because this doesn't happen every month. It happens once in a blue moon, once a year for good. But anyway, the U.S. government, United States and Canada Government Finance Officers Association has awarded Russ Valley the Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting. Another one, outstanding achievement in popular annual financial reporting, and a third, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. And I actually went to their website. It's the entire United States, and we earn a lot of this credit too, and Canada. And yeah, there's a lot of places that aren't there. It's kind of long, but every city in the United States is possible, or every agency, sorry, and city and organization, and in Canada. And all three of them, it's very impressive. It's very good. And I don't think that should just go on and consent with a yes or no. So congratulations to everybody involved in that.
Congratulations. All right. Thank you, Doug. All right. Anybody else want to pull anything else? We're going to have a motion on the consent calendar.
Just a quick comment on the Innovize. Just what we had, just what was there in the
Didn't you?
finance.
I thought you did that.
No,
Okay.
but just. that
Okay.
it's
On
being
item
looked at.
D. Yes. What do you want to say about item D?
You just would like
Oh,
me
you
to
would like Steve
comment?
to say the comment?
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yes,
If
well,
appropriate.
in the staff report, we describe how this year's proposed cost is the same as last year's. We did ask Innovize to hold the price. They asked for an increase. And we're taking a critical look at the services that we're receiving for these annual costs. The software that you buy and you use, this is important. This is the CMMS, but we're using it as it is now, and it doesn't really need to have upgrades. It's a database that's, useful, and we can retrieve information. We set work orders. We can get the history on specific assets, et cetera, et cetera. So we're concerned a little bit about this maintenance costs and the licenses. So we're taking a critical look at that for the future in combination with moving more toward a GIS-based system. We use the word, staff use the word future-proof. We want to future-proof our agency. And that's a short-handed way of saying, as companies live and die that provide software, which ones do you want to select that are going to be here for the long haul? Because we just celebrated 125 years. We need that kind of stability and standardization in these elements that we rely on so strongly to meet our performance goals. So we're taking a critical look at that, and you'll hear more about it. Next month, we'll have an item where we're going to shift into a transition period where we're more emphasis on GIS for doing our work order and infrastructure asset management approach. And but we'll continue to use info asset as a repository for the history and then ongoing work orders. So this is going to be this transitional period that we'll discuss more next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now may I have a motion on the?
I'll move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 12, consideration of accepting the fiscal year financial audit and annual comprehensive financial report, ACFR. Steve?
Yeah, I'd
Felicia?
like to ask our assistant general manager, but she's also the finance and administrative manager for the district. Felicia Newhouse, could you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, General Manager Moore and Board of Directors. And similar to the Ross Valley Public Financing Authority, I would like to turn this item over for presentation by our Finance Officer, Victor Damiani, who's joined here tonight by our external auditor, John Cropper. Thank you, Victor and John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening again to the board. With this item, I am pleased to present our annual comprehensive financial report, also known as the ACFR. The ACFR contains a lot of detail. Our version is 111 pages long. It has the basic financial statements similar to what we saw with the financing authority earlier, but it also has the GM's message, which points out a lot of our accomplishments and goals. There's the management discussion and analysis. Again, there's detailed notes digging into various aspects of the financial statements, but the ACFR also presents demographic and economic statistics at the back of the report. All of these details, again, have been provided to you in the report, which is attached to the packet. So again, I will just focus on a very short presentation of our annual results before I hand it over to our external auditor to report out on the results.
We're leaving this alone.
So I'm looking at page 18 of the ACFR, which I believe is page 122 of the board packet. And we're just going to take a quick look at the financial highlights for the year. At the end of the fiscal year, our total net position was $112.6 million. Of that amount, unrestricted net position was $14.2 million. The restricted portion was $9.4 million, and the remaining is net investment in capital assets, which is $89 million. Looking at our capital assets, net of accumulated depreciation and amortization, we saw an increase of $7.62 million. That was a 4.4% increase and up to a total of $180.3 million. The depreciation and amortization, which was recognized, was $4.84 million. If you were to back out that, add that back to the total, you would see that we have a total capital outlay of $12.4 million. Of that amount, $11.1 million was spent on capital projects and another $1 million in capital purchases for vehicles and equipment. Next, looking at our net, the net position increased in total by $9.6 million or 9.4% for the fiscal year. Our total revenues increased by $2.6 million or 7.2% to a total of $39.5 million. Revenue increases were driven by increases in our sewer service charges at 6.5%. Property taxes increased 3.2%, and investment income was up 103%. Looking at expenses, the total expenses increased by $2.9 million or 10.9%, up to a total of $30.1 million. Expense increases were driven by increases in pension expense. And that's due to CalPERS investment return fluctuations. The expense is calculated on a report that is generated and runs 1 year in arrears. So when we calculate that number, we're really looking at CalPERS returns 1 year back as of June 30th, 2023. Also, we had cost of living increases around 4%, and treatment charges increased by 4.8%. Our net pension liability increased by $631,000 or 7.3% to a total of $9.3 million. If we take into consideration our assets that we have with CalPERS and net those against the liabilities we have with CalPERS, our funded ratio is around 73%. However, if we take into consideration our 115 trust assets in what is known as the SEPT account, if we add those in, our funded ratio increases up to 96%. Quickly looking at bonds and loans payable, net of our unamortized premium, the payable decreased by $3.3 million or 3.5%, with a total at year end of $90.75 million. And the premium amortization recognized in the period was $361,000. And that's just a very brief overview of the financial highlights for the year. And with that, I can turn it over to our external auditor, John Cropper, to report on the results of the audit.
Thank you, Victor. It's a pleasure to be here, Madam President and members of the board, to present your financial statements for the year ended June 30, 2024. We have previously met and discussed this with members of the Finance Committee meeting. That was yesterday. And as we reported in that meeting, we are pleased to present you with the auditor's opinion, which is a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion, as they say nowadays. I'm also here for questions that you may have. I thought Victor covered the highlights very well. And I also hope that you have the auditor's letter to the board. There's a 2-page letter that's pretty template-y, but it does mention the key things that the auditor thinks are sensitive or footnotes that are sensitive that if the board wanted to do an abbreviated review, that they could do it through that letter.
It's on page 217 of the board packet if you want to see. Is that correct? Required communications?
That's the letter. Yeah.
It's the only thing with your letterhead on it that I could find in the item.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's a 3-page letter with a little add-on in the back, but
Starting on page board packet 118.
Oh,
What's that?
was it, it's not attachment 8, 217?
Yeah, board packet, page 118,
Or page what?
118, 118, 118.
Sorry, I was looking at,
There's a couple of them in there. Thank you.
So we do have our audit opinion, which is probably my page 14, 15, 16 of the financial statements. That's on our letterhead. And then this letter, which is separate from the ACFR that we write to the board. Not to confuse everybody, I think I might have already. Apologies.
John, are you talking about the SAS 114?
The SAS 114 letter, yeah.
Sorry, then yes, that's
Probably towards the end of
towards
everything.
the end. Yeah.
But that's just a helpful letter to the board. And when you go through the packet, you'll see what the auditor thinks are key
Yeah, I got it.
things bulleted. Everything else is kind of template-y.
yeah,
But
that's the 217,
That's
right?
the,
Is it page 2?
now I have page, Victor, I have page 188.
Oh, okay.
and page
No, I'm looking at it
189.
for the next item. I'm looking at the document that you're referring to, but for the next item. 188, yes, is the one for this.
Excellent. I think we're all on the same proverbial page and literal page.
okay. Thank you. I apologize for not being there. It was my pleasure to initiate last year's report in
Pardon
your
me, that also
beautiful
doesn't have the
facility.
bulleted He's saying some bullet items, which are, I do see.
Yeah, on page 119.
Yeah.
Right here.
There's
Ah, okay, never mind. 118 and 119.
And Mr. Cropper was saying he apologized for remoting it, but remoting it's fine.
okay. There's 4 bullets under the most sensitive estimates, and then there's another 4 bullets under the most sensitive disclosures. So those are items that if you're
John, I'm sorry.
on time.
I do have to interrupt you. That was not, that was actually not the required communications. Steve, you were correct. Attachment B starts on board packet, page 217.
Yes, and that's where the
And
bullet
that's where the
points
bullet points.
that he's now talking about.
Okay, now we're all on the same proverbial and literal pages.
Pages, because I got them both.
Pages, yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
something with significant audit matters, qualitative aspects of accounting practices, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's just bringing up those bullet points, some key areas that you can go to in the notes if you wanted to know more about, say, long-term debt or capital assets. Those are 2 key areas to the audit, and some of the other things that are informational and important as well. I wasn't going to go into detail there, that you can read them, but if you have questions, if there's an area that you have a concern, I'm here for questions. So here we go.
So we got a clean audit. What is your
Yes.
opinion of our financial condition? The audit's clean.
Right. Well, if I had a PowerPoint presentation, I would say you have a very, very strong position. I pointed the finance committee to the checkbook number, which I think we decided after you receive all your receivables and pay all your payables, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 million plus. And I would think that most bonding agencies would look at that number and look at your expenses relative to that number and consider you very, very strong.
3.1 million more now. We
You're
just
adding to the net. Yeah, you're adding to the net.
Yeah, this was as of the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, I
So
get
it
it.
was,
I'm
it
just
was
saying.
quite a few months ago.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think we know that because we're going out to refinance is that what we're doing? We're refinancing bonds? Yes. So we know that we're looking pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we hope that the rating agency agrees too.
Thank you, John. Board
Yeah.
members, any questions for John?
No,
or-
I just a minor typo on board packet page 99, but I'm sure that'll be resolved.
Thank you for noticing, Doug. We noticed some of that at the finance committee as well. Yes, those minor typos will be corrected.
That will be corrected. Thank you.
Maybe not. You know, I mean,
Well, Tom can only do so much. He's listed
I don't get
twice.
2 votes.
He's listed twice. All right. If there are no further questions for John or Victor on this item, I will take a motion, please.
I move that we approve the RVSD 2025.
No,
No, I'm wrong place. I'm sorry.
We
Let me
accept.
do it. I move to accept the fiscal year 2024 financial audit and annual comprehensive financing report.
Second.
All those in favor?
all right.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, John. I think,
Hey,
I don't know whether you hang around for the next one as well, but if not, have a good evening.
I don't think I am. I think we're done for the night
go.
unless you need me.
Oh,
Christina can.
thanks for your help.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Item number 13, consideration of accepting the fiscal year 2024 popular annual financial report. Felicia, Victor.
Thank you, Director Silla. And Victor, if you'd like to introduce this item as presented to the Finance Committee yesterday and pleased to present it to the full board tonight. Thank you.
Taking a look at the popular annual financial report, which follows on very much related to the ACFR that we just looked at. This is simply a condensed and graphical representation of the same information that was provided in the long form version. So that the popular annual financial report is 14 pages long versus the 111 page version with the ACFR. The GFOA does encourage the PAFR report so that financial information is readily accessible and easily understandable to the general public and other stakeholders that may not have a background in finance. So staff is pleased to say that this is our second year running of producing the PAFR and that we believe it achieves the stated objectives, and we're confident that it will receive the GFOA award a second year running. So that's the PAFR briefly. And again, the information is the same as the ACFR, so I won't go through the details of the financial results. We've already gone through that. And then just lastly, I do want to thank our design work for Courtney Buell with Buell Design for her help in pulling this report together on somewhat short notice. So very appreciative of that.
Thank you, Victor. Yeah, this looks beautiful. Portions of this could go up on that sign we were talking about by Pump Station 15. Any questions from the board or comments?
Comments, it's beautiful.
Very nice graphics.
I agree. I always like seeing a picture of the old Greenbrae treatment plant.
Yeah, do you see the cows?
Uh,
There are 2 cows in it.
no, let's play Spot the Cow. Where are the cows?
One's
Okay.
right on the other side of the road, the close road.
Oh.
One's under a tree in the shade.
Okay, I think if this picture were bigger, I could see
Yeah.
the cows. All right, if there are no further comments or questions from any board members or the public, do I have a motion?
I'll move that we accept the fiscal year 2024 popular and annual financial report.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 14, consideration of adopting resolution 24-1659, approving a memorandum of understanding between the Ross Valley Sanitary District and AFSCME Local 829. Steve.
Thank you, President Silla and members of the board. This item as a labor of a long, and a long journey, twisting at times, but in the end, we're really happy, I think, where we landed. And this shouldn't come as too much surprise, but I'll go over some of the highlights. And I appreciate very much the board members' participation in this effort to update the existing memorandum of understanding with our represented employees and in good faith bargaining and come up with a new agreement for the next 5 years, meeting your goal of having a 5-year agreement and among many others. And as described in the staff report, which received a great deal of assistance from Christina Winnicky, board clerk, as well as Felicia Newhouse, we've summarized the key MOU terms in the staff report on board packet page 242. The term length being 5 years, the cost of living based salary increases that have been negotiated. We're not, I failed to mention that this is 6 months about later than we hope to have an agreement by, because the MOU did expire on June 30th. We did conduct something like 14 meetings going over the details of the changes in the MOU that both we as management and the represented employees and their business agent we're bringing to the table and working through all those. So that the table 1 in the staff report summarizes the changes that we came to agreement on, that we kept you in the loop in terms of the process of coming to agreement between our business agent, Rick Bolanos, who did a great job, and their business agent, Ryan Shannon. Our representative, I guess he's not a business agent per se. Oh, he is. Okay, good. Very good. So thank you. As I said, the term length, salary terms for 5 years, which are almost identical to what we did the previous MOU in terms of the CPI number with a 0.5% add-on and a certain floor to ceiling. But we did agree to a higher ceiling in case of inflationary circumstances, and the union agreed to that. The one difference is we did allow for a second year fixed 5% increase, which isn't too far off with what the CPI based increases have been in the last few years. And we don't believe we'll disproportionately increase our salaries compared to other agencies. You know, that's part of our goal, is to be in the median with the comparator agencies and what we offer in terms of salaries and benefits to our employees, to stay competitive for recruitment and retention, and recognize, you know, the good work and commitment of our workforce, but do so in a fiduciary, responsible manner. There was a lot of details that we worked through on things like lunch break, overtime, callback pay, standby duty and pay, meal allowances, certification pay for different certifications that can be gained through passing exams with the CWEA processes. And we actually added electrical and instrumentation certifications so that we can encourage our staff to seek more skills in those areas because of our reliance on pump stations, you know, and how important they are for us to meet our goals of no spills. So yeah, there was, as we talked about, we added the holiday for Juneteenth, and we took away the New Year's Eve half-day holiday and combined that with the Christmas Eve holiday, for instance. We added some time for donning and doffing work clothing. We addressed the boot allowance to allow for some inflation, I think, in that area. And so it goes on. And there were also some benefits that you added to the non-represented employees in the annual resolution that you hear in June. And so those benefits were incorporated into the MOU to create equity across all the employees. And then they're detailed here. There was an issue of accrued leave based on public service, not just here at this agency, but all CalPERS related public service, something that other agencies offer. And we added that employee benefit. And there was a modification to the 457 deferred compensation, but that was pretty minor and created a little more of an incentive based on a matching program instead of just a cash benefit on 457 deferred compensation. It now requires a match from the employee, which is mutually beneficial to us and the employee. And I think that's it. Minor modification of medical in lieu. But that's some of the details of what was agreed to that we've discussed. And we're pleased to let you know also that the union voted and to, I guess, ratify this agreement. And now it's ready for the board's consideration. And we're happy to answer any questions or about what is proposed as far as the next 5-year MOU, which is attached. And there's a lot of detail here, and you may have some questions about how certain things would work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board members, any questions?
Comment or question?
I got one, or maybe it's just a clarification. Maybe it's just a clarification. I don't remember us talking about fatigue time. Is that different than overtime? And if so, what does it mean? Thank you.
Fatigue time actually came up as part of the negotiation cycle from 2019. So it's a carryover from the prior MOU, and it is compensation based on hours worked. Well, let's see, how do I describe this? If you're working, your start time is 6 a.m. and that's your regular shift. And if you're required to have a call out and you're working until, say midnight or 1 or 2 a.m., then fatigue time compensates the employee for their regular shift and also provides them additional rest time. So the concept in 2019 was that the employee could recuperate after a late night shift.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Doubling back.
Yeah, and so not getting
It's like a double back.
Yeah, not getting penalized for the fact that they need rest after getting home at 3 and not report to work at 6. Right. And so yeah,
I lived that as a caterer for many years. So yes, absolutely needed.
Yeah, and it was a familiar concept to me, having worked with other unions and on other union contracts. So when it was proposed, I think the district was supportive of it. And again, it was a carryover from the 2019 negotiations.
Thank you.
Just my comment. I'm glad we got this done. I'm glad we got it done now. I'm glad it's 5 years. I want to congratulate everybody who negotiated. You were telling us all the stuff, but we were well aware of all those changes as this negotiation was going on. And so glad it's over. Glad we had a nice little Christmas luncheon yesterday. And thank you. And I also want to thank the representatives from the union. So we got it all done.
Mm-hmm. Comments?
Yeah, I had a comment. I'm wondering, went through the MOU and it's quite extensive. And what do you do? Just amend sections that based on what changed?
We go through red line versions with the represented group, at the negotiating table. And then this is the final version that it was ratified by the union and then is made available to the board for adoption by virtue of the document itself and the resolution.
Okay, so a lot of it was already here and we just amended pieces.
Yes, that's right.
Boy,
You don't
it's a
see the
lot.
red line version. You just are adopting the fully amended document.
And yeah, we based most of the major items we did discuss, as a board. So,
And I don't see anything in here specifically addressing, it's not retroactive.
Correct.
The
It is going
$3,000.
into effect this pay period upon the board's adoption for the 4.3% COLA and the $3,000 one-time cash payment. And there is no retroactivity.
And is that in here or is that?
Yeah, it's part of the pay skip.
Okay, the $3,000.
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't see it. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And as we discussed that, and yeah, I didn't cover that. I apologize, but that was the trade-off for retroactivity, which really creates, it's more or less hits the target, plus or minus, depending on the employee classification. but it saves our administrative staff a lot of time trying to work through what retroactivity means for all the different employees,
Mhm.
as well as the employees themselves, where they have to, spend time tracking that for their level of trust. So by substituting a cash payment, it saves everyone time and effort.
Great.
And as a
thank you.
point of information, it is itemized on page 6 of the MOU board packet
Thank you.
255. And it's A2, salaries and salary schedule, point 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that shows also how this year, the first year of the 5-year MOU, is the same formula as years 3, 4, and 5, which is the CPI plus 0.5.
Thank you. It's very clear. I even like the fonts and the layout and everything. As you always produce them very nicely. It's very readable. Okay. Any other questions or comments from anyone or the public, such as it is? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to quickly commend, I can't think of his name, but our union guy that you hired.
Rick Bolanos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he gets big kudos.
Agreed.
I'd move to adopt resolution 24-1659, approving a memorandum of understanding between Ross Valley Sanitary District and, how do I pronounce that?
AFSME.
Local
AFSME.
829.
Local 829 works.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Congratulations, really.
Yes,
Yeah,
amazing.
It's huge.
Well,
I think the best thing is it's for 5 years.
I think it's for 5 years, and I just sense that there's a relationship between staff and employees that is unsurpassed in all the years I've been here. So
I think so too.
all right. Performance metrics. We don't have
yeah.
any, Paul didn't hang around to talk to us tonight?
Yeah, well, I admit I made an executive decision to let him off early because
That's-
it's his birthday today.
Oh, great.
So I said, I'll take care of the metrics,
That's
which I don't,
fine.
and I'll make it a very brief.
No, I
brief
think
report.
I think he loves being here to tell us about his
I
report.
know. Yeah, it was, I think he had mixed feelings.
Okay.
Uh, but as far as highlights, I'm here to answer any questions. I think we're really, the metrics report shows a lot of activity here as we're ramping up for wet weather. And, looking out for
Good ducks all over the place.
wildlife and so and November was a no spill month, and which is great for us to take a break from dealing with events. But I wouldn't say same for this month, but it's okay. We're doing fine. Nothing out of the ordinary.
I noticed a lot of, for the month, the manhole repair and install, and that was good. 27 repairs.
Yeah.
4 installs, which for the fiscal year is 4 installs. Getting ready for the rainy season is a good thing.
Oh, that was that work in Fairfax, right? Wasn't that in Fairfax, the $50,000 item that, anyway, sorry, we discussed at the finance
Oh,
committee.
yeah. That was more of a capital. That was more on the engineering side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
So-
manhole, it's all right. But our in-house repair crew stays just really busy, and they keep a variety going. There'll be some dig jobs, and then certain months they'll focus, like board member Kelly says, on manholes, and then others will go for point repairs. So yeah, we're keeping a close eye on that and meeting our targets, and continue to meet recycle water targets. It's a little bit more like 25% is really the sustainable level, just to keep productive, and having to do the fill ups at the end of the day, we're able to do, and on the vehicles that can use the recycle water, because it's not the highest quality. But we're also real proud of our initiative this year. We have lost nodes. A lot of districts deal with this in easements on private property. We'll lose where the rod hole or manhole is for access. And we have had several hundred out of our 5,000 plus nodes And we've really been whittling away at that and marking them in the field. And so it's really, I think, over 300 that we've identified just in the last year through a special initiative. And that's part of our application too for CWA is these initiatives, like once and for all, let's really tackle this issue, and staff gets behind it, and we get things done. There are some grease related issues that we were dealing with, and finding it from a maintenance side, and CMSA was really helpful and responsive on the regulatory side, dealing with some grease accumulation along Magnolia Avenue in Larkspur. So that was some good work.
One teeny typo on page
Oh,
13 under fog compliance. One of the CMSAs is CSMA.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like when people call us RSVD.
Yeah.
It's like they're RSVPing with us. Thanks. We'll get that. Yeah, but metrics look good for
Mhm.
November,
Yep.
and let me know if
Was on page 21, page 6 of 21.
There are 2 page 21. There are lots of page 21s. Okay, what's going on here?
Page,
Oh, okay. There's a little 21 down at the bottom left of all these pages.
what a low profile.
we'll work on the formatting.
Our flow varies only between, 41 to 49%, and it used to be,
Much larger.
but different peaks, a much higher peak.
Hmm.
So I think that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, this relates to what Director Kelly was saying earlier, is that this wet weather peak and relative percentage of influent flow
21, 10, 21. Got it.
is really driven by a rainfall difference between our agencies and the other JPA members. So there's a contour map of average annual rainfall, and we're at 45 inches per year, and San Rafael and Corte Madera are at 35 or less inches per year.
Yeah, when we used to watch the weather on television, when I was a child, Kentfield always had the most rain. My parents would
Mhm.
always point out, and it's because of Mount Tam. That comes over from clouds come over and the raindrops on Kentfield. So yeah.
Yeah. So once you
Unsurprisingly.
get halfway down the Miracle Mile and get into San Rafael, the average rainfall is 10 inches less at that point. Very interesting.
Tom and I were discussing the metrics report, and that 12 years ago, when we arrived here, there was no metrics report. And what a massive document this is. And it's just very robust from month to month and tells us so much information. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Paul's really taken the that guidance to heart, and sees the value of encouraging his operation maintenance staff to report out on the work they're doing, take pride in the work. And then we package that, and some of these stories make their way to the monthly GM bulletin.
Well, and this should be at the Pump Station 15 board too, showing how much of the flow comes through that station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
When
be
you're
a nice-
standing next to it and it's not that loud and it doesn't smell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good infographic
Mhm.
that could be put on information, like you're saying, like a national forest, national parks
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
the interpretive kind of a bulletin board, but I don't know what the right word is. It has glass.
Right. Yeah.
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 Everything from Fairfax down pumps right through
Uh-huh.
here.
Well, it's most of the Ross Valley.
It is.
Yep.
There's no pump stations before that one.
Yeah.
No
Our
pump,
big
no lift.
gravity sewer system. All right. Thank you very much. That was a big accomplishment night. The building, the contract. Yes, the ACFR,
The award.
the PACFR, whatever the other one is called. All right. Any other comments? I'll adjourn us with giving the proper date of the next meeting, which Christina was worried about. Our next meeting is January 22nd, 2025, not 2024. Not that I would have said that. Good evening. Thank you all. Happy holidays.
You don't want to go